Hi, I'm CJ Elmer with Transwest Truck Trailer RV in Frederick, Colorado. We've got a brand new 2025 Logan Coach Bullseye XL 6-horse with trainer tack. This is a really well-equipped Logan Coach. This is a Bullseye model, but this is the XL model, and I'll explain that as we start walking you through, especially when we get to the stall area. But this trailer that we're looking at right here is going to be 29 foot on the floor, just a hair over. It's about 29.3 on the floor. It's a standard width, which is 6'9", standard height 7 foot on the Bullseye model themselves. Now again, this one has the trainer tack with a front dressing room, but let's walk you through the trailer. We'll show you some specs on it. As far as the composition and how the trailer is made, it is a galvanized steel frame with aluminum body. So let's touch on that. Galvanized steel is not going to rust like black steel will. If you're the first owner of this, you're going to have a lifetime corrosion warranty on the trailer itself, which is fantastic. The aluminum is going to lighten the trailer up, but then also give it that aluminum look to the trailer when it's completed. So, you know, we're also talking about an 8-year structure warranty, 2-year hardware warranty, so they really stand behind the product. Okay, on this guy here, it's a 6-horse, so why not put a hydraulic jack on this guy? So this guy here, it's definitely nice, just based on the sheer size of the front tack room. With it being a 6-horse, it's a bigger trailer. It's nice to be able to reach up, hit the button, raise and lower the trailer, rather than hand cranking it. With it, you're gonna get this tray. It's going to house a 12-volt battery in that plastic box. There is room for an additional battery if you wanted to go ahead and set this system up with that. We like to go ahead and option and put a battery disconnect on these guys. So when you park this trailer, it's got a lot of lights. We don't want to leave something on and drain this battery down. So the last thing we do is we just reach up and turn that to the off position, and it'll kill all power from this 12-volt battery to the rest of the trailer itself. So again, if we leave something on, we're not going to walk up here to a dead battery. So we love upgrading to this battery disconnect on these Logans when we do this type of a jack setup. The other thing you're going to get is you're going to get this battery tender. It's right here. So this is a really easy to maintain, keeping this nice and topped off. You know, if you park it next to the barn somewhere close, extension cord, you can just plug it in, and it's going to keep this guy nice and charged up. That's really a great feature, just because of the sheer ease of being able to run an extension cord and actually plug it in. You're going to notice this Vortex lining. This is like a bed liner. It's on the gooseneck drop wall here underneath this whole gooseneck area. Vortex lining is like a bed liner, so it's really strong, it's really durable. They incorporate it throughout the entire trailer. I love it because of how well it holds up. Underneath trailers, if you live down dirt roads, gravel roads, you know, these trailers are getting beat up by rocks, dirt getting thrown at a high velocity. I notice on these Logans, they do not get near as beat up underneath the gooseneck drop wall because of that. You're also going to get an LED light underneath the gooseneck here. That's a really nice feature. You know, on a lot of our other brands, we like to incorporate some lights underneath the gooseneck because our cargo light on our truck is kind of blocked by the front end of this gooseneck here. So it's nice to have light coverage, whether it's in the bed or underneath the gooseneck there, because you can actually tip that and point it in different directions, but you'll have that LED light there to see some items when we're working on this. White sheeting on this guy here. There is other color options. This is just, we've gone with the white as far as this one. It's been a really popular seller for us. Now, the trainer tack setup. This is what everybody loves, everybody wants. You know, we're not really adding a whole lot of length to this trailer versus like mid-tacks will. You know, we have a 5-foot short wall on that front dressing room. So, you know, again, it's not adding a ton of length to this trailer. You go and do a mid-tack on this, you're going to go from about 29 foot to, you know, you're going to jump up to that 32, 33 almost instantaneously when you do that. But the trainer tack setup's fantastic because everything's accessible. It's right here. As you can see, you've got your dual doors. They're set up the same way. So we have a set of hooks up top. They're fully carpeted. You have windows to get some air ventilation in there, and then brush trays down low. If you wanted to add another brush tray, we could get that for you. You know, you want more hooks underneath there. There's a lot of things that we can do. Now I'll show you when we go to shut up this front tack room, but we'll shut the right-hand door that you're looking at first and then overlap with the left hand. But as we get into the tack area, 2 sets of saddle racks And then there's a set of blanket bars in the middle. And what's nice is the saddle racks, one, they're adjustable on that post. So we can move them up and down. We can remove some if we want. You can add some if you want. But if you look at the rail that's on the wall, so lower and upper, they set in there. So if we wanted to change some sequencing, space them out a little bit, say I want to move this guy over to the left a little bit, or hey, I want my saddle racks here and my blanket bars there, or whatever you want, you can interchange these. You can flip them around to set them up how you actually like and how they'll work for you. And then fully carpeted. So everything's carpeted behind the saddle racks, the blanket bars, but then also all these bridle hooks. So there's 2 sets of bridle hooks, high and low, in this back slant wall. And then up at the front, there's gonna be 2 more sets up there. So again, a lot of hooks. Carpet's gonna protect everything. And then there's a couple LED lights right inside the top rail here, as far as, you know, being able to see in this tack room as well. And then you're gonna have 2 load lights directly above. There are other load lights on this trailer, but the lights for the tack area and then these load lights directly above it, there's gonna be a switch inside this left-hand door. And then again, we go ahead and shut this door here first. Slam latch so it catches. And then again, you're gonna shut this left-hand door as you guys are looking at it. It overlaps and locks into place. And then I can just go ahead and lock this up. All these, you know, any door drop windows that we'll show you all have the same key, so we can go ahead and secure this, you know, your tack area up. And again, open and close everything else with just 1 key. These are welded hinges on this guy. These are the big heavy duty doors that Logan builds. So these are not prefab. So there's a lot of weight and mass to these doors. When you open and close them, you feel that weight. And that's what you want, because these are doors you're gonna open every time. You don't want a cheap door as far as that's concerned. You're also gonna get a drip rail above these doors, and you'll also have those, I'll point them out when we get to our drop down feed doors, because that drip rail is gonna wanna keep moisture away from those door openings. Okay, it's a 6 horse, so we have 6 bus windows, big bus windows. Bus windows, only half of them slide open. So we really need to maximize the size of the window itself to get as much airflow as we can. And Logan did a great job with that. You're also gonna have a lower extrusion on this guy. Years ago with their Bullseye model, they would have an extruded aluminum sheet. So it's just a sheet of aluminum with those bins in it. For this is the actual extrusion they use on their stock trailers and then their standard model Riot horse trailers. So they've incorporated that over on this side. So again, it gives it a lot of strength, but also protecting it when we have horses tied out here. We have 6 tie rings out here. You know, we could add more if we want. There's only a couple places we could add them, but we could add a few more if you'd like. Axles, you have 2 7,000-pound Dexter rubber torsion axles. We really like to upgrade to aluminum tires for our inventory. One, it's just a better look, and they'll just hold up and look that way over time versus those steel wheels that, you know, over time that paint starts to chip and you get that superficial rust, and honestly they just look ugly. So it really dresses the trailer up. And this, with that black and silver mix in there, it works well with the color combination, with the black framed windows, the extrusion, you know, being that aluminum look, so they tie in really well. The other thing is these are upgraded to 14-ply tires, so a heavier duty tire underneath here, and then you have electric brakes, so your brake controller, you know, integrated, or you have to do an aftermarket. But if you need an aftermarket, we can help you there. We opted to put a sheeted hay rack up on top, give you some storage up there. We shifted it forward a little bit to kind of get that weight maybe a little bit over more of the axles themselves, but then also you have that back deck area to actually work off of if you're up there, you know, filling hay bags or throwing bales off. All right, rear doors. So 50-50 rear doors. They're independent, so you can open one or the other. The only difference is the door on the left side, as you're looking at it, driver's side, is gonna have a weather strip. And that's when we shut these, there's a slight gap between these 2 doors. That weather strip's just gonna help, you know, moisture and other weather and just dirt and dust from getting sucked in that area there. If you need a rear ramp, we can add it. We can remove those rubber bumpers, and then it's a bolt-on ramp over. So you'll be able to shut these rear doors and then shut the rear ramp. Maybe your horses prefer it. Heck, maybe you just want to use this for other things, you know, haul some toys. You've got that flexibility if you wanted to add that rear ramp to the trailer. We can do those type of items after the fact really easy. All right, so we got a lot of dividers in here. The first one is going to be telescoping here at the back, but they've got some D-rings and some snaps. These are padded, solid dividers. We'll just make our way forward and get them all open, but it's nice to have the snaps. That way you can hold them back if you need. The other thing in all of these stalls, you're gonna have D-rings in here. So you've got these D-rings, so if you wanted to add a corner feeder, they could easily be added to this. You know, we'll show you from the outside, but you do have a window netting here that can be removed if you want. So if you have a horse that might tear some stuff up and they kind of live in a certain stall, you can just take those off, or you can leave them up. But again, they're really interchangeable and very easy to do yourself. All right, we finally got to the front one here. So we went ahead and upgraded to a stud divider up here. And then if you notice, this is a airflow but full divider. So in this instance here, this one, that front stall, maybe you're not necessarily hauling 6 head of horses, or you are and you need somebody kind of separated, you can put them in that front stall there. But if you have some extra, you know, bedding, feed, anything like that, you can throw in that first stall. And as you can see, you can stack it up really high and not have to worry about anything, you know, coming towards, you know, the horses back behind you, you know, as you're working that direction there. But in this instance, this XL model comes into play because these are set at 40 inches. The pins are for the dividers themselves, which allows us for an escape door. So I'll show you the escape door when we get outside, but you do have an access. Typically on these standard Bullseye models, you are not gonna have an escape door. You typically see those on a lot of like 3-horse bumper pulls, 3 and 4 horse goosenecks. 2-horse bumper pulls, there's not really enough room ever ahead of the axles to put an escape door. But one thing that we wanted to offer some customers was a setup with a stud divider, but then also an access, you know, door getting into the stall area. So on the XL model, they've accomplished that. And again, we had to make the stalls a touch bigger. So if it's an XL, your stalls are a little bit wider than standard. But the Vortex lining, again, is incorporated throughout. You see it back here on the kick wall, the partition wall, and it's even over on head side. But all these uprights, they've all got that Vortex lining. So again, it's really gonna protect the stall area as far as all that's concerned there. You have LED lights. These are on an individual switch at the back, but if I wanted to, I can actually walk up and physically turn them on or off. But the switch, the easiest way to do is just leave them on the on position, and then you can actually operate them off the switch at the back, so you don't have to necessarily get into the stall area itself. And then on these butt bar, or the butt windows over here, these bus windows, they've got some, you know, jail bars on them to protect that area. These are slam latches, so they're really easy to operate. You can one-handed operation, open them and close them. That way you don't necessarily have to hold a divider open. And it's also safer from the standpoint of when we go to shut it, you know, I don't have to hold a divider in place, you know, trying to get a pin dropped. You know, I don't really see that in today's industry too much. You'll see it on some older trailers, but these type of slam latches, they're the only way to go from the standpoint of just safety and ease of operation. You have an aluminum sheeted roof, and then 6 two-way roof vents. So there's one above every single horse. So you can manipulate airflow, whether it's grabbing it and forcing it down, you know, open forward, or you can open it back. You know, maybe in the winter months, you know, when you're traveling a bit colder, you don't want to force as much cold air in, but you want to get rid of that air in here, you know, is just their bodies, you know, just produce some of that heat. It starts to rise and it goes out. The other thing you can do is manipulate airflow. You can open maybe 1 or 2 of these at the back to release air, and then open the others to force air in. It'll create a vacuum. That air is wanting to go somewhere. That's one of the other things when we look at these back doors with this XL model, is you're gonna get bus windows in the back doors. On a standard Bullseye, that is not the case. They're solid doors. So in this instance, we get a lot more airflow through this by having it as the XL model. On the floor, you're gonna have rubber mats, but underneath is gonna be an aluminum whiz-proof flooring that is Vortex lined. So again, they're incorporating that Vortex lining on the floor. It's aluminum, but as you see, there's these kind of gaps, but they're on an angle. So it kind of looks like a board, but instead of it being on a 90 degree, it's more like a 45. And what that does is it doesn't allow splashback moisture to come back into the trailer, but as gravity starts to take, whether it's urine or any other liquid, it goes down and goes out of the trailer. This is the same, subfloor that they use on their standard models, the Riots, with the Sure Grip, flooring, that self-draining floor. So that is already one component. So if you wanted to upgrade to a Sure Grip flooring, you can remove these mats and the floor is already there for you, that you can go in and add that self-draining version. But again, the Vortex lining, boy, does it make everything hold up extremely well. And again, you see it on these back doors. They really incorporate it throughout the construction of the trailer, so it gives it strength, but also a lot of durability when it comes to that. Light switches are right here at this back corner, like I was telling you. So stall area, and then these exterior load lights. So you see one at the back, there's one on each side, kind of in the horse area. They're operated right here at this switch. So I can individually turn off the exterior, turn off the interior, turn it on from right here. And then you're also in your back tail light here, you're gonna have a built-in backup light as well. So when you throw your tow vehicle in reverse, that white indicator will turn on. And if you need more, you can come back and turn on your load lights. The nice thing about those load lights is you can manipulate them. Again, just like the one I showed you underneath the gooseneck, you can tip it and point it where you want. Bolt-on ladder that goes up to that hay rack area. Again, you've got it spaced off the back so you can get up there and kind of work on the back of the trailer itself, up there in that hay rack area. There's that load light I was telling you about. So there's a load light back here. There's going to be another one up by the front tack room that I'll show you here in a minute, but we do have lights all the way around this. You will enjoy having lights on a trailer. There you go. There's your drop down feed doors. Same thing as their tack door. That's all framework around it. That's what you want. You want heavy duty doors that are going to hold up over time. These are their jail bars. Again, you can see the screen a little bit from the in. They're tucked in on the inside, but if I want to drop these, they just have this bar in the middle that pulls down, releases those pins on the inside, and there you can drop down that feed door. Maybe you're offering more hay, some water, whatever you need to. You've got that flexibility. And again, these are just Velcroed on, so you just unvelcro and then slide them off the top themselves. So they're really easy to actually operate. And welded hinges on all these drop down feed doors. The other thing is you're going to get this cheater bar in the middle. And for those of you that might be a little bit shorter, it's a little hard. Typically I see people grab a hold of a tie ring, have to step up on the running board to reach that door latch, right? Well, there's this bar here that I can just pull down on and drop the feed door down. So really easy to operate. And again, it just makes it so much easier, especially you don't necessarily have to crawl up on the trailer to go ahead and reach that latch. But again, all those can be locked. Same key that, again, we showed you on the tack doors. And then there's that drip rail above all these drop down feed doors as well. So again, we want to keep that moisture away. You have to think about it. Colorado, we have 300 days of sunshine. So we'll get snow, sun will come out, it'll melt it, that water will start coming off the side of the trailer, and then at night it'll freeze again. So what that water wants to do is it wants to come down and find those areas, those openings, it'll go in there, and then it'll freeze at night, and then you can't get the drop down windows open. So it's going to try to keep that moisture, away from those areas themselves. Okay, on the escape door, it's a little bit smaller window because we just have to make it fit within the framework of it. But like I mentioned, there is an access door that goes into this front stall. Again, your standard Bullseye models won't have this. It does have a chest strap that goes across that opening as well. But again, by them setting those pin, you know, as far as those uprights and where those dividers actually sit, it gives us that flexibility to go ahead and put that door. LED light coming into the tack room. And then as we come into this front dressing room, on the back side of this, so this is that trainer tack wall, or the wall splitting the front tack room and that trainer tack that we showed you. But as you can see, Vortex lining. We've got carpet on the floor, a boot box located in this area so we can throw some smaller miscellaneous items in there. It works as a bench, or if you need to hop up into the gooseneck area itself, you can utilize that. There's a couple windows up there, another LED light in the center, so you can throw a mattress, bed rolls, just storage, those type of items you can toss in there. Again, what's nice about a front dressing room and these type of setups, whether it's, you know, a closet tack or a trainer tack, you go that extent, is this is completely separated from your front dressing room, so we don't necessarily have to smell the saddles, the blankets, the pads, everything as far as that's concerned. So if you're going to spend the night in here, you don't have to necessarily smell it. This stays generally a little bit cleaner, just because it does have that wall in there. And maybe it's a dressing room, or just, you know, you're traveling, you got luggage, those type of items you can toss in this front tack. So again, really cool setup. Again, this is not your typical Bullseye, it is the Bullseye XL, so you're definitely going to get some nice features, you know, versus the standard Bullseye model when you upgrade to the XL. And again, this guy has a lot of options on it. So I'm going to give you the stock number for reference on it. Again, it's a 2025 Logan Coach Bullseye 6-horse gooseneck, the XL model. Stock number is 5N250535. We do take trade-in, so if you're looking to upgrade or downsize, we can help you. Financing is available, and delivery is an option, so we could potentially bring this to your doorstep. So give us a call. Anybody on the sales team can help you out. That number is 303-684-3400. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good day.